I'd like to talk about my journey with fasting and what I've learned from it. So, it started during a phase in my life when I was trying to build muscle and finding out that fasting uh, promotes human growth hormone. So, this would make it easier for me to build muscle if I have more growth hormone endogenous to my body. Well, that that fasting was intermittent, so it was a 8 hour feeding window, 16 hours of fasting, 12 to 12, noon to 8 p.m. And that was really interesting. A lot of benefits from that, which I still maintain that in general. Um, and then I started looking into longer fasts to see, what's really there, and it does seem to be a more popular thing to do now, as having a resurgence, as well as fasting as a practice for thousands of years. Um, a few weeks ago, I did a 7 day fast with water, and there's physical detoxing stuff, which was interesting, but the deepest and most profound part of the water fast was seeing the emotional addiction to food and the way that food is used to cover up traumas in a sense. So, um, for example, and this is the big one, the major insight that occurred for me was there was a period of my life, an embarrassing long period of my life, where I was a womanizer. And, I don't know if there's really a polite or a nice way of saying that, but I just, in reality, there's like almost like a predatory quality to it. And I thought for a long time that it was an observation of other men in culture and society, and my dad in particular, that I was watching this objectification of women, and that's why this behavior was uh, showing up in me. Well, while that all might have been contributing to the scenario, um, I realized after having a difficult conversation with my mom a few days into my fast that I had this really intense craving to eat. And I said, "Wow, that's so weird. Like, what is that? Why do I want to eat so much right now? Or, especially something sweet, something sugary." And I realized that by the relationship that I have with my mother, which is the epitome of my relationship with the feminine, there was not a sense of control there on my behalf. I felt like I wasn't being listened to. It's almost like the the kind of frustration that you might have with someone who speaks without hearing, and that really, just has bothered me, and it bothered me then, and it's bothered me really my whole life, not feeling like I was listened to, and that provokes a sense of not in control, and not being in control is really, really uncomfortable. So now, with that insight, it really puts the pieces together. Okay, well, if I don't have a sense of control with this major um, source, or aspect of the feminine in my life, then what am I going to do? I'm going to go out and exercise control on every other single feminine thing going on, and and the way that manifested was basically trying to conquer every woman that I could. Um, and that was a really, again, kind of embarrassing, but, very powerful insight to why I acted that way, and to see, and hopefully, other people can see that, and maybe get some insight about their own life and trauma, and other behaviors that they're doing that are not really what they want, but it doesn't seem to be coming together, or why they're not able to stop the behavior. So for years I could see that what I was doing was not really in alignment. I could see that having superficial short-term relationships were meaningless and not really satisfying, and yet I was still maintaining the behavior because of this underlying issue that wasn't resolved. Um, so that was a really powerful insight from the fast. Another really important thing that happened was doing a saltwater cleanse. So on the fourth day, my girlfriend and I, we alternated. We drank salt water to cleanse the digestive tract top to bottom. So some people do enemas, coffee, and other things. I've never done that. I'm not really interested on principle. I don't understand it. You're just pushing water up this way and then it comes back down. It seems like an incomplete process. What makes a lot more sense is to drink salty water and have that go all the way through. And there's two phases to that. The first is quite unpleasant. It's that you drink very, very highly salted water, almost to the point of saturation, chug it down quickly, and then you throw it back up. And it can be really intense, but it seems to really, and in my case, it really helped to clear my upper three chakras. I had a lot of heat, um, discomfort, basically starting from the throat up, and this really cleared it out. Is profound. Um, so then the next phase is to have a lower salted water, maybe I would say 4 or 5 tablespoons in a liter of water, and then as the ratio, and then maybe have 1 to 2 liters of water, and then drink that slowly as you need to drink it, so that you can keep it down. And that will cause the salt in the water will cause it to go through the digestion, as opposed to being filtered through the kidneys and out through urine. It can also be intense, but usually it's typically much more pleasant, and depending on what level of sediment you have in your intestines. And give yourself plenty of time. If you choose to do this kind of cleansing, give yourself plenty of time. You could find yourself making up to maybe even 10 trips to the toilet over the next few hours, as your body is purging all this waste material that's kind of stuck in all the little folds and bends in the intestines. Um, Very, very, very healing. So now, well, I 2 weeks ago I did a 2-day dry fast, which seemed really easy. I broke it for planning reasons around other things. Um, but the first and second day both seemed great. By 48 hours, I said, okay, well, I need to break this for other logistic reasons. Uh, but as I've heard, to be basically initiated into what it would be like a breatharian lifestyle, which I think is very interesting, and I might talk about that later. Um, the initiation is 4 days of dry fast, and then 6 days of water. So I don't intend to do that right now, again for other planning reasons, but I will do the 4 days of dry fasting. Now I'm at about 24 hours. I feel fine, totally normal. Um, I assume that the effects will start kicking in around day 3 or 4, and I'd like to do another follow up video once this dry fast is complete, to see, is it worth it? What came up for me, and um, recommendations for how I did it. And in reflection, that the one thing that I would have changed about my water fast was the way I broke it. Breaking it gently over an extended period of time is so critical, and I could feel myself. My mom makes an amazing pot roast, and I had some of that on the second day, and it definitely crashed me back into the planet in an uncomfortable way that felt a little bit irresponsible, and not really taking advantage of the lightness that I had achieved. So uh, that's my intention for this fast, is to ease myself back into um, calories, and also any advice. Definitely, you want to be gentle, especially when you're excavating these energies from your body. You want to be as gentle and loving with yourself as you can, because um, that's a problem that, not a problem. It's a habit that we have, is to be too judgmental or unforgiving or harsh with ourselves. So in these practices of becoming lighter, it really makes sense to take on that attitude of being light with yourself in the process. Take care. Good luck.